Let's jump in. We had a great week at TC and a lot of build up going into it, and we're delighted to have a lot of things to share with you today. First, some announcements, some upcoming information about our soon coming DDCs. We're going to be talking about pulse metrics. Lots of you guys have asked about them, and so we have a demo and basically some recommendations regarding how you set up your data to get that working well for your organization. And as with all things AI, it's all about the data. So we'll talk about that a bit. In July, we're going to have a next installation of our conversations around Tableau Next. Want to point out that along in parallel with this, there are a lot of really amazing Tableau events happening that our CO team is involved in. And one in particular we'll be talking about at the end of our time today, and that is the data devs. They have a kind of their whole ecosystem that we want to introduce you to, make sure that you're aware of it, because that's with MCP and AI and headless BI being on a lot of people's radars. That is a really great environment to jump in and participate in and learn a lot from. So, but also Lauren and I are on the advisory council for the Austin Tableau Community Group, and on June 11th, we're going to be hosting Lisa Truscott, who's an Iron Viz winner from, I believe it was 2021. She's remarkable and posts, and as a visionary, she posts and creates lots of how-tos and helpful things, and so she's got that design eye that is somewhere between a developed skill and a natural gift. So she'll be speaking she'll be our featured speaker in our Austin Tug. We always have kind of a 3-part program. We talk about interviewing, then we have someone that we spotlight from our community, and then we have a main guest speaker, and that's typically our format. Jane Kabata just graduated from she just finished her college degree in Boston University, I believe it is, and she is coming to Austin to work at Visa. She's been, in the throes of all the interview things, and so she's going to be our spotlight speaker for talking about interview tips and tricks and techniques and what she recently experienced, and we'll be interviewing her about that. And then Matt Huff, who works at HEB, he leads a retail Tableau user group. He also is one of the team that publishes Makeover Mondays, and if you've not experienced that yet, it's a great way to take your skills to the next level. Every Monday, they find a data set and they put a challenge out on the Tableau community Slack channel. And then I think they also have a website. I don't think you don't have necessarily to approach it there from the community Slack, but it is really a great way to see it. And then people all over the planet build example visualizations based on the prompt that is given, and then give each other feedback. So it's a great way to take things to the next level outside of your workplace with a little bit of fun and some community mixed in. So it just we'll be, and as we go, we'll be highlighting those sort of things that are happening in parallel that you may be interested in going forward. So, but today our focus, of course, as you know, is about Tableau Conference, and Lauren and I both were there and participated very fully and barely saw each other all at the same time. So yeah. We'll be sharing from a collection of notes and a slide deck that Lauren has artfully created, and then also, but kind of like circling around 3 main themes of features that are coming and what difference does it make potentially to you as a developer or manager of developers, and then also some community opportunities and a little bit of fun. I got did I volunteer? I'm not really sure that I ever volunteered, but I got volunteered to be part of a group of people that did a Tableau tricks and tip battle. It turns out it's an annual thing. Wish I'd known that in advance, but I didn't. But it was a lot of fun anyhow. We all dressed in neon, and we very much competed on a stage with too many people in front of us. And I did get through the first round. I'm feeling really good about that because I lost to the girl who eventually won, and that's fair. She came very much buttoned up to hit that target. That was her single target that was her primary target for a Tableau conference. But we had a panel of judges that were visionaries and former Iron Viz judges. I mean, it was really quite intimidating. I mean, it was really a lot of fun. So we had a great time. But in any case, I have a thing or two to share from that. So I wanted to share some links to some resources of people who do that like as part of their profession. And there was 2 showcases of that at Tableau Conference. Anyway, so when we get to the last part of it, I'm going to show you what I got, what helped me get through my first round, and then also just a couple of resources, including the fact that Lauren last summer, I think it was October last year, she did an entire session in DDC on tips and tricks that are very practical and how things that are more less showy and more like really can make a difference in how your workflow goes as a developer. So if you haven't seen that, it's on our YouTube channel. I'll be happy to grab a link for that as we go. So, and with that, let's make sure any of the logistics, we are really more interested in all of this when you guys will chat with us. I will keep the chat channel open, so if we're midstream on something, but we're likely to be asking you questions for feedback, for conversation as we go. So please feel free to be interactive with us like that. There will be a recording. They'll be published alongside of a follow-up email on about Friday of this week. And then starting next month, we'll be back on our regular schedule where it'll be the second Wednesday of every month. So we just, with Tableau Conference, needed a little bit more space so that we could do this well. All right. You guys, I recognize a lot of your names. We are the Tableau team. We are the ZO team that does this for you guys monthly. I'm Celia Fryer. I'm in charge of training and enablement. And I'm also part-time adjunct professor at the University of San Francisco. And let me let Lauren introduce herself as well. And then we'll dive into our material that we brought for today.
Yeah, I'm Lauren. I'm based out of Charleston, South Carolina. I never know if I should add that, but I'm adding it.
It's good for flavor, I think. Yeah.
I manage our data analytics team here at ZO. I come from a state government background, and I also lead the Charleston Tableau user group. Still need to set up a session for next month, but more news on that to come. And yeah, I have 8+ years of data analytics experience. I need to do that math again because I think it's
we
more.
need to change the slide probably. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We can leave it at 8. I can be younger. I'm okay with that
Yeah.
age now where I'd rather be younger.
I know, right? At some point we stop counting. We just are grateful for the time. Yeah. Sounds good. All right. And I have not been in academia my whole career. I very much started off in the doing side of the house, and it was 2016 where I started made the jump to being a full-time academic because I got to see how analytics made a difference in people's careers. So that was what motivated me to switch over. So, and with that, I'm going to invite you to share your screen, Lauren, and we will dive into our TC26 topics and takeaways and highlights, because there was a lot of that this year.
Yeah, perfect. Can you see the devs on stage? My worst fear is sharing the wrong screen. So yeah, so we put this together just to kind of go through all the highlights from devs on stage, because that's always my favorite presentation. So
And
here's
just for curiosity, did anybody here in the room, if you got to see the devs on stage, if you would just make a note or something in chat or add a reaction to your screen, that'd be amazing. Yep, Vivian, thank you for that. David, yeah, I thought you might be there. Cool. All right.
Yeah, and here are just like the different sections, because it was kind of long, so it's a lot to take in. So it's nice to have it in this format. All right, when we get into connectivity and data access, and maybe people can react or chat, like which of these features are your favorite. I was pretty excited about the REST API connector. I feel like that's a long time coming. And one less driver to install. Yes, please. And then the bringing your own connector to cloud. It's nice that it's easier. It will be easier to connect to like OneDrive, especially. And then for those who use Tableau Public, I'm pretty excited about this because I love Tableau Public. You'll be able to actually publish those data sources now and share them. Then I think everyone's excited about the add-in with Excel and PowerPoint. Because as much as we want everyone to stay in Tableau, sometimes it's not possible. So it's nice to have it, to be able to be on different platforms. I guess, Celia, do you have anything you wanted to add here?
I was just wondering, and I don't know that this is a question rather than a comment on what was presented. How does this impact the connections to SharePoint that have been kind of ongoing? Think any of this will make any of that smoother?
Yeah, I have a feeling it'll make it smoother, especially with the bring your own connector. Because yeah, there's always issues with trying to connect to SharePoint, even more than like Google Drive or OneDrive.
Yeah, agreed. And David in the chat is talking about REST APIs and hoping that connectors. Do Azure DevOps. Hey, David, do you want to just say more words out loud about that, please?
Sure, can I talk?
Yeah, there you go. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've gone through two different companies now, my former employer and my current employer, which is Deloitte, and developed a pretty robust work management deliverable tracking tool using Azure DevOps for Tableau workbook development or Tableau data source development, whatever is your Tableau deliverable ultimately to a server production environment. It's backed up by a life cycle. There's custom fields and restrictions and validations for how stuff moves through the QA levels and the life cycle and everything. And I've got all this great stuff in Azure DevOps, but getting to the Azure DevOps to do the analytics I want to do versus what the Azure DevOps gives you in their platform for analyzing their data would be wonderful. I've just struggled with getting Tableau connected to my Azure DevOps data. You have to jump through all kinds of hoops, pulling it down through their API and, figuring it all out and then trying to, pipeline that so it happens regular refresh and so forth and so on. So I'm wondering if this might be a nice solution to that.
Yeah, we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Keep us posted if it does work. Right, I might go to the next section. So I think for me, the marks layers are my favorite new feature because I've been using map layers for a while now, and I'm really excited for them to be like more normalized. I feel like it's less, I don't know, intimidating when it's just like the marks layers. So it's already set up for you to do that. You can build some really cool charts with the layers. Has anyone used map layers?
Yeah, if you've used map layers, if you'd add a reaction in Zoom on your screen. Yeah, good. Yeah, it seems like it's been intimidating to get into and tricky because we're, clearly adapting a flat Earth map, right? Where if it's just some sort of grid in the first place, it'd be easier for everyone to jump into. And then they're more performant, so that the view has been worth the climb. I guess is what I keep saying to people because it's a little bit more cryptic, but it's everything in one sheet. There's no argument about the performance on the other side of things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easier to maintain too, because you just have to go to one sheet. And then if you set it up just right, you can make changes really easily instead of like having a bunch of different sheets that you're putting in a container. And I mean, I love
Right.
containers, but I totally get wanting to avoid them.
Yeah. And I've kind of given you credit in some of the classes I've taught for moving a core of calculations between workbooks before you bring in the data. Is that still part of the game plan of what you do?
Yes, because a lot of times I'll have templates set up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll move those same calculations just because it saves me a lot of time, especially for calculations that you're using over and over again, or like with math layers, like bringing in all of those like make points.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
recreate all of them.
Right. I think that's very smart. And I'm not sure that's well known, by the way, that you can do that.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
guess I
because
forget
pardon
because
me?
I'm in it so much. I
I
feel like
know,
I forget
right?
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only tricky part about it, honestly, is that you just need to do that first, so you don't bring over data, and you need to pull it out of a workbook that doesn't have data in it. Yeah,
Right.
so that you don't have a clipboard of stuff that was not intended there. And although that's you can get rid of it, it's just like something just cleaner. You just
Yeah, one
intend
more
it.
thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, something you don't have to clean up.
I think you were excited about dark mode.
I am. Everything on my screen is dark mode, and I get, for better or for worse, my entire life. My creativity kicks in about 9:30 at night. Even if I try really hard to not have that be the truth, it is the truth for me. And so, man, during the night, trying to squint at my big screens, just
No, I
that's
totally
that.
get it. I've seen you on Slack at like 2 a.m. and I'm right there with you. So
I know, right? It's just like it's quiet, and my yeah,
yeah, no
for anything.
distractions. Nice.
Correct. Distractions, creative thought. Yeah. And then this really, really bright screen. It's like, yeah.
No, the dark mode is cool. It's kind of crazy that it took so long to get that,
Hmm.
but I'm really glad that we're adding more features like for developers that's go around.
Yeah. And for that to be something that can be toggled on or off, I'm assuming that hopefully, fingers crossed, that's how it's going to be. Because, that means if as a developer, you kind of can give that choice to the user. Are they seeing it in a place where dark mode is appropriate, or do they need the white background? And if it's being displayed in it, and then we don't have to do quite as much with putting darkness behind dashboards that are going to be portrayed in a conference room. You don't have to have as much understanding about where this is going to be presented, and whether or not it's going to, you know, what that environment. Anyway, it just seems like it's a flexibility that, yeah, like you said, I'm surprised it's just now, but I'm grateful it's happening at all. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's good that it will be on the user to be able to toggle that. And so it saves us development time. And then the drive time selection is pretty cool with the drivable routes.
Mm-hmm. Instead of it just being as the bird flies. Yeah. Been doing a
Yeah.
lot of this with one of our clients right now on the radio buffers and trying to do that. And I can think of a half dozen others where the city drive time and pathways matter. And that needs to be part of the planning that they have to do. So um, it should be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, so yeah,
So
now we're
Tableau
gonna get
Agents on dashboards is so interesting because I've spent most of my plus versus next time in next as opposed to in plus, and now I'm like spending more time in coming back to next to plus, that is. And um, I was so surprised when I first started working with the beta of next last summer, and it could not see the dashboards. Like, kind of like, wait a minute. What do you mean you can't see it? So it very much was just working with semantic model and any calculations or logic fields you set up. And progressively this year, as I've been, working alongside of, it seems like I'm alongside of a solutions engineer on the Salesforce side that he does plus, then I'll do next. And um, there's so much more now that's available in GA with the Tableau agents on dashboards and their ability to create a dashboard, answer questions, do a calculation. It actually can build some charts that you might like. So it's like a starter, if you will. It's not going to be all the finishing touches, but it would be a starter. And so depending on the cleanliness of your data, right? And when I was most recently with this same solutions engineer that I've been chatting with a lot about this, he was talking about how that if your data is coming from the Salesforce side, you can do more of that where you train a specific agent to have a verified knowledge base, like questions that you pre-queued and pre-answered, so that you know that these are going to be high frequency questions coming in from your users, and so you're going to make sure that those are understood and answered correctly. So it's starting to evolve into a larger ecosystem of not just a quick and easy Q&A, like what we said of Explain Data or Data Guide or Einstein. This is going to be next level. But right now it's 3 things. And in fact, there's a quick video of that actually that Stuart just recorded that our marketing team put out on, I'm pretty sure it's out already. I'll have to double check that. But in any case, showing that plus functionality as it's sitting there, able to answer and build a few things. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, that's really exciting because I mean, it's all about the context. So the fact that it has that context now, it's gonna be really powerful, especially to get started. So that can be the hardest part.
Because the dashboard, I'm sorry, I'm taking so long to get to this, but the dashboard is usually expresses our intent, because we have a bunch of data, but the dashboard is where that from a human development point of view comes into what is this purpose we need this thing to serve, as opposed to anything and all things that could be possible with the data, right? In the same way that you would have one dashboard go to marketing, one dashboard go to sales, and one dashboard go to, some other division in a company. I feel like being able to see the dashboards is essential. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was trying to think well, accessibility is always good. That's another one where I'm surprised that that's just now coming out, but I'm glad it's coming out. Oh, the dynamic field formatting on this slide is my favorite because, and we were talking about that like a couple weeks ago, I think, where you have to make the 3 different calculated fields, and then, kind of, it's kind of hacky, but not super hacky to get that to work. But now it's just going to do it, which is awesome.
Right. And it makes it more clean, to be fair. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because what you had showed, she's being mild about this. About a month ago, she basically taught me all that she has to do for this and to make a production dashboard. And I was actually wrapping it up to maybe use it in the tip battle because, a lot of people don't get all the fit and finish to happen in the dashboards because, think about a pie chart. I mean, not a pie chart, a donut chart. If you put a KPI in the middle and you round that thing up to the display level of 1 million, but you want to have a different level of aggregation out on the edges. I don't even know that people necessarily know. Sometimes I teach it so that you're using a percent I always teach it so you're using a percent on the edges, and then you have a KPI that's the actual number in the middle. But if you wanted to have that number present somewhere else, it has not had the ability to have a different level of aggregation unless you go and make a bunch of other fields. And so Lauren has some really nice techniques for not only building the fields. The part that's really seamless is how she applies them so that you only get the one that is relevant to show up. And so I'll leave that as your secret sauce. But in any case, that's been really elegant how she's done it. And not very many people are aware of that. They choose to go with one or the other and leave it because it's not necessarily known and understood how to get around that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
you're welcome. No, it's beautiful. So,
I mean, now it's irrelevant, I guess.
Well, not yet. We haven't seen it or tested it, so yeah. If anything, what you did was kind of a proof of concept that was required. So I would think of that.
True. Then with the SVGs, so the SVGs are actually, they tend to render a lot better when you're sharing,
Mhm.
and the file sizes are smaller. So that's exciting that we can start using SVGs or exporting them.
Yeah, the very first custom shape project I tried to do, the files were SVGs, and I had no idea what I was setting myself up for trying to convert them into PNGs or JPEGs. Like,
And they look
then
all wonky and they're like
they
kind of
did
gritty
off.
and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what happened?
Yeah, yeah, it was very disappointing, but yeah, they had no idea until that moment.
And then the data-driven dashboard styling. That's cool too, because I mean, anyone that's had to try to format across the workbook, it doesn't always, I mean, it gives you the option to format like the font everywhere, but it doesn't always apply it exactly how you were expecting. So that should help, I guess, save some time in that respect. All right, platform and admin tools. So an update to Tableau Prep is exciting because I feel like we haven't had that in a while. And to have an agent in Prep to help through like some of the more complicated flows, I think will be really valuable. And maybe more people will use Tableau Prep. How many
Mm-hmm.
people here use Tableau Prep?
David and Jim, Vivian, yeah,
Awesome.
Kaylin, good, yeah,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
Tableau Prep.
Yeah, I feel like it's an underappreciated resource to help take the load off of what really shouldn't have to happen in a workbook. It keeps, as a from an organizational perspective, gives you a chance to standardize and get things cleaner or fulfilled. Even calculated fields, if you can do it at that level, then they're ready in the extract, as opposed to having someone have to define something that someone's doing locally on a regular basis. And if you can push it upstream, that just makes it more consistent and available for everyone. So.
Yeah, it's especially great for the calculated fields because I had a project where I moved a bunch of calculations to Tableau Prep. And I mean, the performance, it was like staggering the difference that it made in a
That's
positive
great.
way.
And do you see the chat, Lauren?
Oh,
I
yeah,
heard,
that's
actually,
true.
yeah,
Published
I
data.
heard you talking about that at conference about the ability to combine 2 or more published data sources.
Yeah, that's another feature that's coming out, which is incredible because it's really frustrating when you can't combine those just in desktop.
Mm-hmm.
But I've definitely used Prep a lot for that use case. And then Tableau Next. You're our next expert.
I think this is such an interesting labeling on this. I think they're just progressively. My point of view is that they're progressively expanding the opportunities for connecting to different data types and data places. You know, like the thing we've kind of taken for granted for anyone being in the Tableau desktop environment for very long. Such a lovely thing that they did very early on to have native connectors, a giant page of them. What is it, like 130 now? Yes, not all of them download, nor should they, but they're available. And the fact that they were so cognizant of that need and had an entire team. I remember way back in 2015 and 16, there was actually a department that would work on native connectors all the time. So, you know, Tableau Next, I keep saying, is a baby product, and it's got a ton of potential. And this is just one more step in an expanding repertoire of things it can connect to with proper connectors. So, and make no mistake, they're trying their best to help it accelerate very quickly. So.
And then more Tableau Next.
So data interpreter, that's so I was reviewing this just a couple of days ago. You know how when you have an Excel sheet and you pull it into Tableau desktop, if you have a named range or you have extra titling around the edges, Tableau Next being new, it needed you basically to take your your Excel worksheets and put them out to a CSV just to make sure that you didn't have any of those labeling, framing, other things. Um, get in the way of Tableau Next reading the file correctly. And they've added data interpreter now, like what we have in desktop, to have it sort through and be able to take it straight as an XLSX. So this is super good. And then dashboard extensions. We've had a steady stream of those. I mentioned a couple of them at conference when I was talking about this, but a couple more coming. And the hackathon that happened this spring, it was so interesting how the top 5, all of them were about things that were more like using MCP to extend it to provide accessibility, or so there's a lot that's going to happen in short order here with new extensions, and there's some specific release regarding MCP and Tableau Next coming up this summer that I don't really understand the boundaries of, so I'm not going to try to comment on that, but yeah. Yep, there should be more and more. It'll be very interesting summer for Next, but
Yeah, it's exciting how much they're investing in Next, as well as like in desktop and cloud. I think it was a good balance this year.
Yeah, it wasn't only Next, which I was so relieved to see, because desktop is home base for a lot of folks, and I feel like Next is actually going to be a welcome breath of fresh air for folks who are in Salesforce, but it's a young product compared to what we have had, and you may get tired of me saying this, Lauren, but it's like we all disliked cloud when it first came out in 2018, 17, 18. Well, we have that version again, except for this time with a different structure underneath it, and so there's a lot that will happen very quickly here. But in any case, this is at conference. It was a really nice diversity of conversations around each of the platforms, and interoperability was a priority that was also expressed loud and clear.
Yeah, now we can get into the labs. And I
That
think
was really fun, right? The lab conversations.
yeah, it's just amazing, like the art of the possible really comes to life. And the things that the community members come up with. It's kind of amazing. And these are better if you go back and watch the recording. This just kind of summarizes what the tool that they came up with does and what the impact is. But actually seeing it live, I think, has the biggest impact.
Yeah, and if you've ever tried to do any of the radial anything from mapping to graphing to charting, there's used to be even more so than at this moment, but there's still a fair amount of complexity and math involved. And so what they were showing us was graphically very pleasing, very flexible, and the claim was no trigonometry recalled and no cosines, that sort of thing. So with it being a selectable viz type, so to speak, is kind of the way they were positioning it. So we'll see, but it was in prototype and they were demoing it. It was very fun.
Yeah, I have one on my Tableau Public, I think, that use the radial bars, and there was a lot of math, and I was like, oh my God, I don't remember all this math. I had to go in this before AI, so I was looking up math. I don't know, relearning trigonometry.
Right. I guess some of the trick with what I almost said, and now we can just use one of these engines to look it up, but my chat GPT still tries to give me solid SQL answers that I still have to go verify, because about 75% of the time it doesn't work. So especially the more complex, the less likely it is to hit it, but it may get me close, but I still have to bring it home. So and this was super cool, right?
Yeah, this was the biggest. Wasn't
Mhm.
this the winner?
It was, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been funded. Yeah. So what about this struck you, Lauren?
I was trying to think like the best part of it.
For me, it
I
was the
like that.
ability to have an incomplete month and have your ability to drag that, like if you look at it in a bar chart, just to keep it simple, and the last month is incomplete because, of course, it's like 6 days into the month, and you could drag it to the expected instead of it being, or the target or goal, as opposed to it just being something you had to either exclude or just look pathetic.
Yeah, being able to fill in is nice because that, I mean, you have to bring in like a calendar table and do some data densification and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, and the forecasting is nice too,
Mm-hmm.
because usually that is more complicated.
And I don't know if it was just in the way that they were showing it or if it's in the way it's implemented. Um, they were those things when you did that of dragging a estimate on into a series that was actuals, it automatically changed the viz type to be like shaded or something where it was clear. You know how when you add forecasting onto a viz right now, it doesn't use the same viz type, so it's viz characteristic, so it's clear that it's a an added on segment that is not um, core data performance. But that was really clear here as well. So both in the table and in the viz that they showed, where they were doing either um, uh, the drag to forecast or something that was out of step with the rest of the data. It wasn't like you're going to miss it and think, oh gosh, that's part of the core performance sales data or whatever you've got there.
Yeah, and to be able to do what if analysis is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because before, I mean, the forecast would kind of work, I guess, but not, yeah, you'd have to have your data formatted for the what if. And anything to like deter people from exporting to Excel to do additional analysis is
Yeah.
always good.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was another one. Apparently, they named this after their dog, which I love.
And to be fair, I barely remember this one because I was so smitten with Saul.
Yeah, I just remember it being named after the dog, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I feel bad about that.
Yeah. So,
It's a
but
tough act to follow, the Tableau
right.
sales.
Yeah, it really was. And they really put a lot of creativity in the way they express these three. So if you're at all interested in this, it's available. Record all these are things are available in recording on Salesforce Plus at the moment. So
But just for the sake of time, we'll keep going. Oh yeah, Tristan won the hackathon with Tableau and MCP and accessibility. So now that accessibility will be easier to set up. I feel like that's the main takeaway.
mm-hmm.
And MCP is all the rage. So
So true.
then a lot of Tableau Next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of Tableau Next, and the newest features that were in beta most recently, and then in a continued beta that's about to begin this summer. Um, Q&A calibration was something that was added and then started being tested probably in January. And now that I have seen more about the Salesforce side of the house, I got to tell you, I feel like there is they had, part of the reason they brought it in so quickly is because there's things there that exist that are very similar. Um, but for the Tableau people, and it's a way to basically trial run questions that you anticipate your users are going to ask and see what the agent will do in terms of the answer, and then verify it or tell it it's incorrect. And then if you are, you verify or you invalidate. And depending on what you do in that moment, it will also then suggest other calculations, especially other calculations that you could add to help it understand better. So if it's jargon, logo, acronyms, it's probably a business preference addition that's needing to be said. But you have to think about, so there's business preferences, there's descriptions in fields, and then there's calculations that the agent element has quick reference on, and that's the first thing that it's going to for answering questions. And in the same way that we might use this is similar but different, okay? So in the same way that I might have like a conversation going where I've told my chat GPT a number of things about a circumstance that I'm workshopping and problem solving on and whatever, like imagine that chat log being like a folder that's a predicate that would be probably a reasonable corollary to what business preferences are. So when we ask, meaning that when we ask a question in Tableau Next, there is a prologue or predicate that it's going to pick up, read, and digest before it answers my question. So until we're at the point where we have a dedicated agent that's trained, and even then, it's a folder of things that and I'm telling you that partly because there are size limits and character limits on what they recommend that you do. And they're also wanting you to be careful not to replace algorithmic logic with business preferences. So if it's a word, a connection, net sales, the definition of an acronym, the jargon that's used by executives on the regular, rather than having them change their ways, you just document it there. But then if it's a way to derive a outcome, that needs to be put into a calculated field or a metric, because those are the two devices that the agent has quick access to. And then also it's more efficient to not have it be loading up a big bulky bunch of stuff that it actually is a calculation. And you need to really reserve that for its intended purpose. So anyway, but then the Q&A gives you a chance to verify that the questions that you anticipate they're going to ask will be answered correctly. And then it creates a set of verified question and answers that are ready to set go. So it can be really useful. Conversational analytics is of course, the end game and the payoff for any of the work that's done. And I think that there's a lot of conversations now about, I have heard and see and experience a lot of conversations about how can we bring things like, for example, from DBT, a project that Lauren was involved in, where there's the label, the source label, the label that you want to have, and then a metadata tag that is a descriptor. How do we get those things to come straight into Next without having to put those in separately? And so I think that in just a blink of an eye, that will happen. And so some of these things about how much time it takes to set Next up should diminish, but some of the principles about how we use calibration, validated questions, training the agent, or conditioning it or grounding it is the words that are preferred. And all that still is going to have to happen because it's all about the data and the quality of the data and the clarity of it. So MCP is coming soon. The thing that I actually have seen of all these widgets and stuff, mobile parts and thing, I don't know that was on the last slide, but I got to see last week Slack in the Tableau Next feeding out charts and graphs, them and interactively still appearing and interactable inside of Slack. And my understanding that beta is happening now, and that's going to be tremendously helpful for people to stay in their workflow and not have to go. The governing thought here of it, wherever your workflow is, let the analytics come to you and be there with you. And so a lot of us live in, for better for worse, in Slack and in Teams, but having that interactive chart or graph be right there with you in that space instead of it being someplace else you have to go find it and log into to get the data from is big right now as well. So
Yeah,
that
that's really exciting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's really exciting. I agree. It's good to have it in one place, especially since there's so many different places that everyone goes now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And here we just have a summary, like the key takeaways. Cloud being the new default. I feel like it's been the default for a little while, but they've definitely made more of an effort to invest in like features in cloud. There's less of a difference between cloud and desktop. I mean, there's still a difference in what you can do, but
Yeah. Particularly for authoring, there is, but once you get past that, the usability on cloud is really greatly improved.
yeah,
So,
no, absolutely.
and the thing about governance that I just want to comment on is that semantics like this been being tossed around as like this new hot word, and it's so funny because that's a word that is about as old as saying the word IBM PC. So, but it's just that semantics are so necessary. It's the agentic evolution that is causing semantics to rise to the front to being the thing that we all need to pay attention to. So, regardless of it being a newer old thing, it's an essential thing with AI and is the governor. It's like a limiter on whether or not AI is going to be able to serve you well or not. So.
Yeah, and the VizQL evolving is also exciting because there won't be as many workarounds as there were before.
Okay, and this is just a slide that I slipped in here. Lauren, surprise,
Okay,
surprise.
no, I love this slide. I'm really glad that you put this in here.
Okay, and this is like a summary of where there was discussions around each topic and which platforms they would apply to. So, if you are curious, and just know that there is depth on each one. This, and then if your pressing issue that was not may not have made the cut, this QR code from this is one of the slides from the keynote presentation. This QR code, I tested it yesterday, takes you to the idea exchange where you could submit your request or a recommendation for an improvement. So they are most certainly very data driven in that they have the idea exchange, and then they have people that campaign and vote for things to be raised, to be noted and raised to the top. And so I have now seen and observed that process, and just want to invite you to jump in if you've got something that has been an issue that is a rub on how things work for you, because they do listen. And I think the next part, Lauren, if you want to click into that. Yeah, so we had a lot of emphasis in the Tableau conference on community. This has got to be one of my favorite parts about going. And if any of you that went, if you would just give me a reaction on screen of if you went to any of the above that are on the screen, because we had several pre-gaming events the day before. Data Plus Tacos and Data Plus Women were two of a few that I was aware of. And lucky for me and or my daughter who went with me, who's an adult, she, the Data Plus Tacos happened on the day of May 4th, so we felt obliged to go in costume, of course, and that made it even crazier. But in any case, there are these meetups and socials that happen around the edges of the conference as well. And the meetups proper during the conference, I think there was about a dozen of them. And the one that I helped co-lead was education. It was for professional trainers and then also people who are institutional analysts across the globe. And even though our time was a little bit less than ideal, it would be an 8 a.m. on the morning following. There's a big party called Data Night Out on the next to last day of conference with the music and dancing and all sorts of places to have conversations. But we still had almost 250 people show up, so it was incredible how these networking events were well populated and people really seemed to enjoy them. Iron Viz was stunning this year. I guess it is every year, but I've only been a couple times, so that I just am always interested and amazed at the way that the people are participating. And unfortunately, my browser got closed this morning, but I had the 3 Iron Vizes set open for. Let me see if I have them really close here at hand. Yeah, I do actually. I'm going to just put into chat the Tableau public links to the 3 finishers. There was really a strong theme about data storytelling, and the way that they did it also, each of them created their own data set off of a derivative of a larger data set that was done. And Anne Pregler, who won, she hand drew a lot of her art, or all of her art, I'm not really sure. In any case, I'm going to encourage you to take those links out of chat I just shared and take a look. Anne's in particular, she won, but all of them could have won. They were so intensely amazing. But the challenge of Iron Viz, folks, for anybody that's not aware, they have some time to create this, but then they have to build it in front of this live audience in a matter of 20 minutes and then present it and tell whatever their data story, what it is. And so that's just a remarkable talent all by itself. And then the Vizzies are something that I would encourage you to watch for. First of all, Iron Viz, there's a data set that will be suggested, or more like a theme that's suggested, and it'll come out like in October. And then they take submissions through middle of November. And then there's a multi-step process for evaluating and getting it to the final 10 and then the final 3. And it's folks from all over the earth. And it's really, I would encourage you, if you have expertise or tips, if you have anybody who's doing this day to day has enough skill to do this. And I just want to invite you to jump in, because it's a great refining process. You'll get feedback, if nothing else, on what you've done. And it's a great way to take your skills to the next level and just experience that whole thing is remarkable. So the Vizzies is another community-based activity where I don't remember exactly when they started the request, but they sent around a Google form to folks that were in the Tableau community Slack channels, asking us to vote for people who had shown the most leadership or the most support or the most creative ideas, and they have like an assortment of sections of ways they recognize people around the earth, and it's all community support, like nominated and such. And I have 2 really close friends from Australia who actually ran and administered that this year, and they did a really good job of going through the submissions and making sure some of the rules were followed, and that they found a place or 2 where there was some not rules followed, and they took care of that. It's for the people who are not being recognized necessarily by Tableau. So not visionaries, not ambassadors, but other people in the community who are leading and setting the pace high, and for a variety of measures. So the Vizzies were an unexpected delight for me to see, observe, and be a part of this year. So I would encourage you to jump into that as you're all obviously connected to this environment. So. And we can go into the next slide. I think I had to put something up here about, okay, so there's the slide about the Iron Viz finishes. And this, like I said, the Slack channel has their links. So, all right, if you want to move forward. The last thing on this deck was to just kind of get you introduced to the data devs. Data devs have their own ecosystem, but it's folks who would rather go ahead and code a little bit of things as opposed to draw a little bit of things. So if you're more on the logic side of the house, I would invite you to get involved in this. It doesn't cost anything, and there's a community of people that will quickly embrace you and support your endeavors. So especially as MCP comes into the realm and it becomes less of a difficult coding environment and more of an approachable querying and structured coding environment, and with LLMs supporting us, none of us need to memorize syntax anymore. So I would just encourage you to join them. They have their own Slack channel. They do a lot of coordinating there. It's their own Slack org, not just the channel. And if you want to go to the next slide, Lauren, this gives you kind of a quick preview of the scope of what they do. And they just encourage curiosity. You can get a free sandbox to use to participate, and it is all wrapped into their data devs toolkit. And if you want to go forward again, so when you request this developer site from Tableau, they will give it to you, and it's the full administrative privileges, one creator, one explorer, one viewer, and it gets you set up so that you can do the exercises. Now, Christian Saavedra is on our team. He's very active in the data dev community. He's also a data dev ambassador and has been a visionary, I think, for a couple of years now, right? So he writes a lot of the challenges that are on their sites. Is there one more slide after this? I think maybe yes. Okay, so they have a site called datadevquest.com, and I encourage you to check that out regardless of if you're going to join them or not. But they have beginning, intermediate, and advanced challenges that they publish, and then they request you submit, and then you can get feedback from them. So it's just a great way to get started. So if it's been a while since you did any coding, this is a great place to jump in a supportive environment. They have a data devs Tableau user group that meets at regular frequency, is published on the regular Tableau group's website. I think it's monthly, but I could be wrong about that. But they go after real world cases. They talk about APIs a lot. There's a lot. This number is most definitely wrong. There's way more than 500 people involved in this. But Tristan, the one who won the Tableau Next hackathon, he is one of the most notable Tableau figures for adding new viz types, and he's also very involved in this. And I have a co-lead for San Francisco Tableau user group who's a data dev ambassador. He is an analyst at Stanford doing analytics. And so that's the sort of flavor of folks that you would interact with in this group. So it's really worth the investment of time and energy, I promise. So, all right. I will save the tips and tricks thing for another time because we are right almost at time. Does anybody have any questions before we kind of wrap up today's session? And if not, I would just encourage you to find the Salesforce links for the sessions that are of interest to you guys. So there's a lot available. Salesforce tries its best to make it accessible after conference is come and gone, because there's a lot to be learned from that. So thank you guys for being here. Lauren, thank you for leading us, and great deck. And we'll be submitting, you'll get a follow-up email on Friday with the resources that we've been mentioning, and I'll make sure that we've got these links in there as well. So with that, we'll wish you a happy Wednesday afternoon. You're halfway to the weekend. And thank you, Lauren. Well, anything else?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, Colin.
Thanks a lot, y'all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right.
All right.
See you back at the ranch, so to speak. Bye.
I like that. Bye.